Hi everyone, and welcome to the TA Job Market Review with me, Robert Nunn. And today I'm joined by the delightful Justin Harris. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah,
First off, as always, can you just give an introduction to yourself and your career in TA?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working in recruitment for just over 8 years now. September 8 years ago is when I started. So I did about 2.5 years agency recruitment, then went internal, and spent most of my time in internal recruitment until about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, where I went into embedded recruitment.
At the Wonderful Elements.
At the Wonderful Elements, absolutely.
Where we met. So
supporting their brand colours today as well.
Well, I'd like to see it, Justin. I'd like to see it. What's your view on the market at the moment then?
So it's actually over the last, I'd say, two weeks or so, it's picked up. Definitely seeing a lot more roles being advertised, specifically around kind of tech recruiting as well, which is really good because that was probably the area of recruitment that was hit the most. But certainly since I've been kind of job searching properly for the last 2 months, since about August, it's been a real uphill struggle.
Yeah. And what's been your approach then? How do you approach your job search?
So essentially, I have just been looking for roles that I'm quite fortunate that my background is kind of a combination of both tech and non-tech, so I can kind of apply for quite a variety of roles. And I've created a CV or multiple CVs that have been adapted for both tech and non-tech roles.
Right.
I've also created a tracker as well, so I track every role that I apply for, what stage it's at, what status is at within that stage, and where I can find points of contact that I can reach out to. Once I've applied, I then send a reach out message to try and kind of get a foot in the door and try and influence at least a telephone call to intro.
And what's the response rate to that? I mean, if you're tracking it, are you tracking the responses to your reach outs and everything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as of last week, before I started my search again, so we'll get into that maybe as to why I had to start again. But I did around 140 odd applications. I'd got around 13, 14 initial phone screens. Got to about 8 first stage interviews, 3 finals, and then to 1 offer.
Okay, wow. So yeah, I mean, let's get on to that. I know the story because we've spoken off camera, but the particular low light of your job search. Tell me about that.
Yeah, as if kind of mass rejection from 125 applications of the 140 wasn't bad enough. I actually, as I say, got an offer for a role, and it was a fairly light process in the sense that I was put forward by a recruiter. I went through to a first stage interview, which it lasted about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it covered not much around my experience as such, but more around my behaviors and my attributes, and more about the business itself and how they operate and how the team works and that kind of stuff. That seemed to go really well, and I was offered the role, subject to kind of security checks, background checks, that kind of thing, and was asked, did I want to go in for a meet and greet, then decide whether I wanted to accept the role? Did I want to accept the role, go in for the meet and greet, or was I happy just to kind of accept the role and wait for the first day kind of thing? So there in my mind thinking, well, why wouldn't I want to meet the team? It's best to say yes to these things and create a better impression. And so that's what I did. So we organised a time to meet them, meet the team, and I have to say, being out of the game for a while, and actually meeting people face to face for the first time, I started getting a bit nervous, a bit anxious about the whole thing. Are they going to like me? Am I going to say something really stupid and come across like an idiot, or or just like, is this role right for me? Am I good enough for it? And I kind of got through the day. I thought I mastered them. Clearly not, because the day after that, I received an email, a very formal email, very wooden email, saying that I'd be having my offer rescinded because I didn't come across the same as I did at the first stage interview when I met them face to face with the meet and greet.
That's incredible. I mean, that's horrendous to go through, but I mean, you know what, I don't know, I've said words off camera about that to you, but yeah, I mean, let's try and raise positivity then. Has there been any processes where ultimately you not made the grade, but have stood out as a positive process?
Well, absolutely. I interviewed for quite a large insurance business for a tech role, and it was a fantastic process. The tech talent manager there, she was just fantastic, full of personality, full of life, great questioning in terms of relevance, and challenging for me as well to try and pick them apart and find the correct answers and kind of weave into my experience as well. So that was really interesting. But also, when I was told at the second/final stage interview that they wouldn't be progressing me, it was really thought out. Unfortunately, it was an email, well justified in terms of why it was an email, not a phone call. So I have no quarrels with that whatsoever. But yeah, I have to say the feedback provided via email was really detailed, and yeah, it helped massively in terms of being able to use that information and adapt to my search and progress moving forward. So that was a particular highlight to my job search, interviewing with that business.
Excellent. And as we've explored before on other calls, that feedback is not only courteous, but it's vital for now when you go into your next interview and subsequent next job as well. So, but you know, given the roller coaster we've had over the last 18 months, 2 years now, with recruiters in demand and then not so much now, what do you think's the future for TA, and what's 2024 got in store, do you think?
It's a good question. Well, I think the market's going to pick up again. You know, when you see industries starting to struggle and they're going through mass redundancies, it's normally kind of TA functions, recruitment that gets hit first for obvious reasons. You know, it's the opposite of what companies want to do, right? So, you know, but I think, yeah, it'll pick back up. 2024, I think, will be an interesting year. We've got so many different kind of external influences, societal influences with regards to kind of Ukraine. Now we've got the Israel-Gaza conflict going on, and next year, you know, apparently we're due a recession. So what's that? You know, how is that going to unfold? How is that going to have an effect on businesses and how they choose to recruit, amongst other things?
Absolutely. And final question, as proposed by the previous guest, well, as recruiters, we're giving out advice for interviews all the time. What piece of advice for interviews do you regularly use and take and would offer to anyone else?
I mean, that's a good question, actually, and I would probably say some of them are pretty kind of, you know, interview prep 101 in terms of do your research on the business, make sure you know your kind of facts and figures about them, and really try to understand why it is you want to work for them, what is attracting you to the role and the business, and try and convey that. I think it's really important for interviewers to be able to see that actually you're really passionate about the role and joining the business, and whether it's prompted or not as to why you applied for it or why you want to work for the business. I think it's important for people to be able to explain that and really put that across. I think it leaves people in a good stead.
I like it. Brilliant. Justin, thank you very much, and all the best with your onward search.
Always a pleasure, Mr. Nunn. Thank you very much.
Cheers.